Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the Toilets to Titles NFL Show. Here with me, this is Joe, and I have a new co-host who just joined us this week. His name is Andrew Steele Davis, and he is joining us from the UK. Good morning, Andrew. How are you, my friend?
Hey everyone. Yeah, I'm really good, thank you. Really good. So from the UK originally, kind of in New York. That's going to be home base or is home. Yeah, it is home base pretty much.
Yeah.
Um,
Are you moving to the city? Are you moving to New York?
yeah, I will be. Yeah, yeah.
Yep.
So
We
was
got to
there.
hook up because I live right outside of the city anyway. I live in New Jersey, so not far at all. And so does Coach. He's not too far from the city as well.
I think that's perfect, right? You get a little bit. You get peace and quiet. You're not too far away from the city, so
Yep.
it's ideal that way. But no, I'm delighted to be part of the team. I've been covering baseball and hockey, so it's nice to talk some football and a little bit of fantasy too.
Yeah, absolutely. And before we get into the show, just tell us a little bit about. You were saying that you cover baseball and hockey. Tell us a little bit about that. I know you're on Mesmerized, and that you write for Mesmerized, and I'm a Mets fan myself.
Yeah, so I've kind of been interested in American sports for as long as I remember. I'm a long suffering New York sports fan, which you'll know a thing or two about.
Yep.
We've not had a lot to cheer about, have we, recently?
No, we haven't.
So, um, so I've kind of been a sport. I've been covering sports since I was 14, 15,
Hmm.
and probably for the last 6, 7 years, I've kind of been branched into American sports and trying to work my way up. And for the last couple of years, I've been covering the Mets for Mets Mesmerized, which is a great site. They do a lot of good work, and
Yeah.
um, this year's a good year to be part of the team. I think obviously recently it's not been great. Last night was not good, but hey,
Nah, it's been a good. Like you said though, it's been a great year. And listen. I'm 51. I've been a Mets fan since 1981. And so I've had some good times, but other than that, it's been like, it's been a lot of lows, many more lows than highs. So this year has been a great year. They just happen to be, in my opinion, they're a very good team that's actually in a surprisingly very tough division, with the defending World Series champs. So it's going to go down to the wire, but they're going to make the playoffs, and I'm feeling good about
yeah, for sure. And once you're in the dance, who knows what happens. So as long as they're in it, then that's all that kind of matters, right?
that. Right? Yeah, absolutely. Listen, you got to be in it to win it. It's a stupid saying, but it's so darn true. So, you know what? I'll tell you what, instead of, well, you know what? Here, let me do this. So, but anyway, Andrew, I'm glad that you're here. So, he's going to be new co host with me. And what's awesome about it, too, man, is that and like most other Americans, we love the English accent. And whenever you talk about anything, it sounds logical. Just with the accent alone, it sounds logical, educated, and authoritative. I love it. So, it has like an extra oomph behind it. We
Logical
love it.
and educated aren't words I often hear associated with me, so I'll take that every day.
Yeah.
Thank you for that.
And just me being associated with you, I think people are going to think that I sound smarter. So I love it. So we love it, especially like you listen to documentaries. They have someone who's like someone with a British voice who's doing, who does the commentary. It always brings so much. So this is good. You're gonna elevate the show here, Andrew. You're gonna elevate the show just by
Appreciate
talking
that.
to
We'll
us. I
see.
love.
That's certainly yeah.
I love it. Hey, friend, let's get through the bells and whistles. This is a quick show. As you can see, it's early in the morning right now. It's sunrise. We're both exhausted. Actually, we had to wake up early, and I got a long day ahead of me. So this is being recorded instead of going live. I got a busy day ahead of me. But let's get through this real quick. Bells and whistles. Don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button. Please give us a 5-star Apple review. If and when you find the time, we really appreciate it. It helps us out a lot. Where you can find the show: Apple Podcast, YouTube, Facebook, Podbean, and Spotify, and patreon.com/titles. If you go there, you can learn how you can further support the show. And I definitely want to give a shout out to our latest Patreon member. His name is Oswaldo Andrade. It just happened last night. It looks like he signed up. Oswaldo, thank you so much. We really appreciate that. The Patreon members, um, Your membership really helps just keep the show going in terms of what we can put into it, and helps us bring more and more to the table, more and more content and better formats to the table. We really appreciate it. Oswaldo, thank you so much. And we have a real kick-ass website over at toiletsandtitles.com, has all of our videos, articles, tons of fantasy, NFL, NCAA, and draft content. Check it out. All of our stuff pretty much goes there. Let's get into the nitty gritty, the week one games. Let me get that out of here. There we go. The week one games, guys. All right, so Thursday night, we started off with a heck of a game. We had a team that almost made the Super Bowl last year with Buffalo Bills, going up against the defending Super Bowl champions. Andrew Steele Davis, this is definitely a game because we can't go into depth on every single game this week. We got to pretty much have a hard stop like in 25, 30 minutes. But Andrew Steele Davis, you and I definitely both wanted to talk about this game. There was a lot of relevancy here. I'll give you the balls in your court first. How would you like to lead this off?
I think the only way to lead it off is just by saying the Bills are legit.
They are.
They were probably the most hyped team coming into the season. Arguably the most hyped team in probably recent memory. All we heard was Bills, Bills, Bills. Josh Allen MVP and kind of as a target, the bigger you are, the harder you fall, and they were kind of there to be aimed at. And look, I think it's important to say week one's a lie. Let's not get too carried away with week one. But I think when it comes to the Bills, I think what they could have easily gone into LA. The Rams obviously were raising their Super Bowl banner. They had Odell Beckham Jr. there. So the Bills could have easily gone into SoFi Stadium and put up a stinker, but they didn't. And the important thing to remember, I think, and I've watched the game back a couple of times, is the Bills, they were far from perfect too. They were turnovers. Josh Allen had a couple of picks.
Early on. Yep.
So the scary thing for the rest of the NFL is that the Bills still have things to tidy up. And I think once they tweak those things, I think they're legit scary, and I think they're going to be the team to beat this year.
You know what, Andrew? I agree with you 100%. Didn't they look like they were in mid-season form? I mean, even in mid-season, you're going to have like their first half. You're right. The first half wasn't really the prettiest, with the two interceptions by Allen. Like that can happen. That could happen at any time. That could happen in the next to last game of the regular season. But other than that, that team looked like it was in mid-season form, and they looked like a team that was on a mission. That was like, man, we were this close to getting the Super Bowl last year. And to me, they looked like a team that was on a mission. And with the Rams, like the Rams are obviously legitimate. They're defending Super Bowl champions. They retain most of the talent on their team. They don't have OBJ, and I really think that hurts a lot. They did get Allen Robinson, who people have always said, oh, Allen Robinson always plays with bad quarterbacks. He's playing with a good quarterback now on a good offense on a really good team. And he didn't have the best of games, and a lot of people on Twitter were questioning what the hell is going on. Allen Robinson, they're not throwing the ball to him, but we'll see. I think he'll get better. I'm not a big Allen Robinson guy myself anyway, but I do think he'll have a much better season than he did game one. But that was definitely a statement game. That is a team that, and I knew they were a talented team, Buffalo. Everyone knows that, but I wasn't necessarily buying into, pencil this team in for the Super Bowl. Man, after that game, for me, kind of like felt like it. So that was a big statement game. They took care of business big time.
Yeah, and I mean, as you said, the Rams there. Look, Matthew Stafford obviously went to the Rams last year after being exiled in Detroit for all of his career. Was amazing last year, especially down the stretch.
Totally.
And look, he wasn't great. There was that kind of Stafford Cooper Cup connection, and Cooper Cup was picked up where he left off. Again, week one, I'm not going to worry about Stafford yet. If we get to week 5 and 6 and he still looks the same, then maybe we start to question that arm. But I think going back to the Bills, Josh Allen, 297 yards, couple of touchdowns. He had a rushing touchdown too. The guy's just a damn buffalo. Like if you look, built like an absolute unit.
Yeah. He's like a lumberjack that looks like he's been bred by lumberjack parents. Like both mom and dad and mom. he is just he is a monster. That guy.
For sure. And if the Bills ever decide they want an actual buffalo as their mascot, just wait until Allen retires and then wheel him out because
Yeah,
you've got an actual human life-size buffalo there, with the stiff arm and everything he did. And,
yeah,
and again, the scary thing for everyone else is that I think this year he's now got three legit weapons. Obviously, Diggs, but he's got Davis, who he threw the first touchdown to, and then
wow.
not well at tight end. Those two have kind of really come into their own. So he's got
Mhm.
like a three-headed monster to throw to now. And I think that's going to be
Yeah,
um, really good for the Bills.
yeah, I am. I do want to see the running backs, and it's just not their style. I do want to see Buffalo like have more of like a legit RB1, and I don't think that's Devin Singletary. Devin Singletary is a really good weapon. I don't think he's a legit RB1. He's a really good weapon. He can give you. He brings you a lot, both the running and the receiving game. I'd like to see them more of like have a guy who can like you can reliably give the ball to, and game after game after game, and like really get those hard yards like you can count on him every day. So maybe that'll be Cook, the rookie running back. We'll see. But I want to give kudos to the defense too.
Yeah,
The team and
sure.
Buffalo's been known for a little while now for the secondary, good secondary. But they've also the past few years they've been investing heavily early draft picks on their defensive line, and I think it's starting to show. They were getting pressure on the quarterback. They were stuffing the run very well. um, and I think that defensive line is going to. I think it's ready to mature. I think it's there at least against the Rams. I thought they looked really good. So the score is indicative of that. This wasn't a shootout. It was 31-10. So they really shut down. And I do have questions about the Rams and the receivers. With that OBJ being there, besides Cooper Cup, that does worry me, and that's their game too. Is their passing game, the Rams? So I am a little worried about that. But Buffalo looks like a complete team. They were a team that was, and you get this sometimes. These teams early on, you get them even like week one statement games, like the teams that are, you kind of feel like, all right, you guys are supposed to be the next man up, the Super Bowl favorites. The Bills came in and they showed it that way. They really did. So that was an impressive game.
Yeah, and just final note on that defense, because I know obviously we've been on this game a while, but I think everything you said there was correct. But I think they were always missing something. They were missing a spark. I think
Mhm.
they've got that in Von Miller now. And we
You're
saw
right,
he was like prime time at
wasn't
the
he?
peak of his powers. Denver Broncos, Von Miller. The way he went after Stafford,
He did.
every single
Great
snap
point.
was. And I think if he can maintain that all season,
Hmm.
I just don't think you're going to stop the Bills. And again, I know I'm contradicting myself by overhyping them week one, but I think they're legit.
No, but you know what, Andrew? I forgot. I keep forgetting about Vaughn. I keep forgetting he's on the damn team, and that's a great point. I love it because you know what? He still has that. And I don't know if he's still like 2015 Von Miller because it's like 7 years later and he is older, but he's always still, even last year and the year before that, he was still playing at a better level than most NFL players. And there's such a
100%.
thing to like, getting that right veteran who's always done it his entire career at the right time, where he's not completely spent. He's not a guy you're just putting out there for like 5 snaps a game. He's really there more of like a locker room presence. No, Von Miller's still bringing it, and they got him at the right time, and he went to the right team. And that's such a great point, Andrew. I love that point about Von Miller. I keep forgetting he's on the team, and that is absolutely a reason why that defense really looks so well rounded. But you know what? This game we actually could talk about forever, and I could
Oh,
keep talking
yeah,
about it.
I could talk about this game for weeks. It had so many different
Yeah,
angles you can attack.
yeah, yeah. So many juicy storylines in there. Okay, so we're going to go through the games that were kind of like not as interesting this week.
Yeah,
And no offense to these fan bases, we love you all, but we do got to move through. Like I said, this is going to be a quick, like a 45-minute, 40-minute show. Saints defeat the Falcons 27-26. I guess I'm not really surprised that this was, in hindsight, I'm not really surprised this was a close game, even though you think the difference of talent. But the Falcons do have good young talent, but it's young. But this was a divisional game too. And these divisional games tend to be tough. Saints and Falcons always tend to be. They always tend to be like nail biter games. Not that I'm really follow these teams, but I've come over the years to notice that these NFC South games tend to be battle. They tend to be big battles, and so I'm not surprised by how close this game was. And the Saints did come back and win. I'm not a big Saints believer anyway. I don't think they may be they'll be in the playoff conversation in my opinion, but I'm not like, oh yeah, you got to pencil this team in. I don't think anyone really is, but they've got talent, but they don't have Drew Brees anymore for the second year in a row, obviously. But anything to add to this at all, or on the Saints Falcons?
Yeah, I agree. I think with the Saints, obviously they've got new head coach and Winston. You just you he he's like a box of like Forrest Gump would
He's
say, a box of chocolates. You don't know what you're going to get.
yeah,
One and it's not even what week to week. It's as he proved in that game. It's the Jameis Winston experience is quarter to quarter. Like
yeah,
he could be absolutely clutch, and then the next quarter he's throwing interceptions all over the shop.
right,
I think for me, the biggest takeaway from the game, I think from a fantasy point of view, was just Kyle Pitts, and for someone who's got Kyle Pitts in all 6 of my fantasy
yeah.
teams and was riding him all the way. It was a disappointing weekend for him and for fantasy owners.
Yeah, yeah. Hey, I will say this though. I hear you, but that's going to happen too because they do have some. They did get Drake London on the first round this year. Drake London actually, I think it was something like 67 yards he put up. Not bad at all. I could be wrong. I'm not looking at the box score right now, but Drake London had a pretty good game. Cordarrelle Patterson, just on the fantasy note, real quick. Cordarrelle Patterson. I think a lot of us, or I was questioning, other people were questioning, is this guy going to duplicate what he did last year? Well, he did in week 1. He put up a really good game, Cordarrelle Patterson, and he was a big reason why the Falcons were in the game. But anyway, Falcons had a lot of good, show. They got a lot of good out of this game. They kept it a close game, and I think the Saints are going to be in the playoff conversation by the end of the year. They still have a stout defense. You got Alvin Kamara. They got Olave had a pretty decent game too. There, rookie wide receiver. So, but anyway, Saints did start off 1-0. Falcons are 0-1, and it was a better game than I expected them. Bears defeated. They upset the 49ers. This was big time upset. Sloppy game in the rain. Trey Lance's first start, I believe, or at least this year. Obviously, this year it's game 1, but this is where he officially has the reins as the starter. Trey Lance offense didn't look good. They got upset by the Bears. Bears offense wasn't anything to write home about either. But this was a sloppy game in the rain, and the Bears they start off 1-0. 49ers are 0-1. I expect the 49ers to bounce back, but I don't know. I don't know. It could be question marks with that team too, especially with their young quarterback.
Yeah, I
And
mean,
oh,
I'm
go
gonna
ahead.
I'm gonna use this reference a couple of times this show, so I'll apologize. The thing with the 49ers is you've got the Undertaker in the background and Jimmy G who's just waiting to rise up
Yeah,
and,
yeah.
and take over, unless obviously Jerry Jones goes and picks him up on his private plane and takes him to Jerry World. Um, I,
Good point.
I mean, for me, that game was kind of worth watching just because of the rain, and they had an incredible amount of rain, and
It's fun.
the pitch. It was kind of like old school football you play as a kid, right? That's kind of what
It
being a kid
is.
is all about, and the scenes with Justin Fields after were great, and he had one throw where the kind of pocket broke down. He was able to throw downfield and show something. So for him, that was
He did.
a big game. Obviously, Trey Lance on the other side, all eyes are going to be on him. But look, these guys, it's young quarterbacks. They used to come in the league and sit for a year. Now
Yeah,
they come in, and there's going to be growing pains, and it'll be interesting to see
yeah,
how both of them do this year.
yeah. Even when you sit for a year, it doesn't. Just sit. I think it's good to sit a year because you can gain so much knowledge and experience, not playing experience, but just seeing how the NFL game, the speed of the NFL game, how the quarterback ahead of you plays, processes everything. It's important. But then it's when you get on the field, obviously, it can still take time for everything to really come up to speed for yourself. So not surprised. I'm not giving up on Trey Lance yet. And a good point about Fields. Listen, he showed some things as to why he was drafted in the first round a few years ago. So Bears fans should be very happy about that. Steelers upset the Bengals. I actually predicted this one. It's not. I don't think it's too crazy. for the Bengals, who are the defending AFC champions. The Steelers, are kind of like they've got their, quarterback situations in flux. They're waiting to bring in their first round pick. They had Trubisky out there. But I always tell people never count the Steelers out. It's too well coached of a team. The defense is too good, even though they just lost T.J. Watt. The defense is too darn good to ever count this team out against anyone. And they went into Cincinnati and upset the Bengals 23-20. Bengals fans, me myself, I wouldn't worry about this too much. I think it's just a week one thing. I think the Bengals are going to be fine. And also, Burrow didn't get much practice time in the summer either because he had hernia surgery. So I think I would just chalk it up to just week one, and that's it. Okay, and I'll move along. Eagles defeated the Lions 38-35. This was a heck of a game. Nice game by both teams. The Eagles, they showed out their new wide receiver one, A.J. Brown. Looked like he was absolutely worth that first round pick they gave up for a monster game. I love the guy when he's healthy. I'm kind of down on myself just because he's never been able to stay healthy. But when the guy's healthy, he's on the field. He's an absolute monster. Jalen Hurts had a really good game. I still think the Eagles defense, listen, they gave up 35 points against the Lions. I still think the Eagles defense is going to be legit. But I think that says something very good about Detroit. This is a young team. I like the way they're building. They are accumulating good talent, but they're also becoming a physical team. And it's kind of emblematic of their head coach. You see, who talks and sounds and seems like a physical guy, and he was a physical player himself. I like physical teams. I think that's how you have to be, and I think that's how the Lions are building, and I think they're on the right track. So, good one for the Eagles. The Lions' weapons are showing out big time, like DeAndre Swift, Jamal Williams, was it Williams or Williamson, the other running back. Amon-Ra St. Brown had a good game. DJ Chark had a good game, and we still haven't seen their first round pick, Jameson Williams, wide receiver. So they're going to ease him in down the road. I'm looking forward to seeing that. But this team has so much upside. The Lions, I'm really, 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 really happy about them and interested to see how they progress throughout the course of the season.
Yeah, I think outside of the Bills, they were probably the most hyped team, with Hard Knocks, and I think everyone's
Yeah,
annoyed Dan Campbell's Coach of the Year already. And I think that the NFL's a show me league; it's a prove me league.
yeah,
It shows you what you've got, and I think for the Lions are never going to be defined by playoff success this year. I don't think.
no, I agree with you.
Defined by, as you said, making that progress, making those steps, and I think they showed it Sunday. Yeah, they were still, I think Jared Goff, there's question marks over him in certain situations, but I think they showed a lot. And just quickly to the Eagles, I think it's fair to say this is kind of a show me year for Jalen Hurts. He has to
Yeah,
prove this year that he is the quarterback of the future for the Eagles. And when
mhm,
you've got a legit weapon like Brown, he's going to get a lot of help. So I think it was
right.
an important game for both teams to kind of see what they've got going forward into week two.
Right. And they had like a three-headed running back monster over there in Philadelphia this weekend too, which is great for them. Miles Sanders had a really great game. Gainwell added some. He scored a touchdown as well as did Sanders. And their is it Scott? I forgot the first name, but Scott, the third running back. They all had a touchdown each.
Austin
So the
Scott.
running, yeah, the running game is looking good. The Eagles are looking very sound. 35 points against the Lions. I think people may want to come to expect more of this from the Lions. That's actually a good team, a good young team. And you've got a healthy DeAndre Swift. You've got a healthy Jamal Williams. You actually have some pretty good wide receivers over there. Come to start expecting to see scores like this by the Lions, and they're going to start getting some wins. I do believe in this team that they're in the. I'm not saying they're going to win 10 games or anything, but
No.
I think they're going to win some games and they're going to be competitive, just like they were last year. And let's move on to Ravens and Jets. I don't want to spend too much time on this, so I'll just go through real quick. Ravens took care of business against the Jets 24-9. Actually, if it's funny, if you look at that box score, the Jets actually put up something like 400 yards of offense, but they only put up 9 points. So I didn't see the game. I'm sorry, and Andrew Steele Davis, you are a Jets fan, correct? That's the NFL team you follow?
For
Yeah,
my
just like, yeah,
unfortunate.
no, I hear you. That's what I always tell people when they ask me what baseball team I follow. I'm like, oh, the Mets, unfortunately. But it was my father's a Jets fan too. But I do think the Jets actually. I think I really love the. I like their GM. I like their head coach. I love their GM the way he's building the team. This team's got a lot of talent. I would look forward to. Ravens are a tough match. they're a tough match for anyone. And when you're mostly a young team, I know they had Flacco is the backup quarterback. If Zach Wilson were there too, I think he would have had a hard time against this team. They kind of like Bill Belichick, they know how to handle young quarterbacks, and I wouldn't take too much out of this game. I think your offense actually performed pretty well considering they were going up against the Ravens, and Ravens had some key injuries there. They lost Kyle Fuller in this game,
Yeah,
and
that
I
was
think
a tough one.
yeah, and I think they lost their starting left tackle. I don't know if that was. I think it was during the game, I believe, as well. So Ravens are already getting hit. They're already getting hit with injuries, just like they did last year. Any comment on Ravens Jets on just
Yes.
or just on the Jets?
So I mean, I watched the game being a Jets fan, and I mean, a couple of things for me. First half, the Jets defense really stood up, and they made
Yeah, it did.
some huge plays. I mean, Quinn Williams looked really good. Sorry,
He's a
um,
monster.
CJ Mosley was in there making stuff happen. Source Gardner, the rookie, made a huge um, play in the end zone. So yeah, that defense. I think there's a lot to build on. Now they looked promising last year and kind of imploded and fell off the cliff. So that'd be something to keep an eye on. And then on the other side of the ball, I think there was some really, the rookies really showed out. The two running backs, Carter and Hall,
Yeah.
uh, showed promise. The wide receiver Williams, his first play, kind of a little bit of a quick feet on the side to keep the play alive.
hmm
And I
Oh,
think,
oh, is that Wilson? Garrett Wilson?
yeah, sorry, Wilson's not
Yeah,
Williams.
yeah,
Um, so they look good, and I think that's something to build on. But I think you touched on it. Joe Flacco, great career, but at this stage,
hmm
the Jets aren't going to do anything with him there, and
right.
you could just see that even when he did have time, he just couldn't make anything happen.
Yeah,
And
right.
there was so many times they got into third and down situations, and he just couldn't
Yeah,
couldn't keep the player alive. And I think Wilson, that they're hoping to have him back for week 4. So I think for the Jets, it's a case of hoping this defense carries them to week 4, and then Wilson can come back and maybe they can put some hope on the board.
yeah, yeah. I mean, I wouldn't have been surprised at all if Wilson had a tough game here as well, just because it's the Ravens. Like I said, they're tough against everyone, especially young quarterbacks. But you know what? You still want to see the guy out there because you want to see him take the knocks and be able to build from that. So, hopefully he'll be back in like 3 weeks and get all of their young pieces out there. But there was a lot of promise in that game. The score, I think, is kind of deceptive. They simply lost to a better team and a playoff veteran team, a seasoned team. There was a lot of good things to take from that Jets game, actually, for
Yeah,
the
I mean,
Jets.
Lamar Jackson did Lamar Jackson things. There was
So hard to contain.
one play in the second half when he ran out the pocket to extend the play. And I think if I saw this a lot, and I think people are right. If Mahomes did that, we'd be talking about it for weeks. So I think when you're
Right.
going up something like that, you're always going to have a tough time.
Yeah, he's a bit of a magician. Okay, so Commanders, Jaguars. I'm not going to spend a lot of time here. Carson Wentz, new quarterback, did have a very good game. They defeated the Jaguars 28-22. Jaguars played pretty well here. They're actually in the lead for most of this game, and I'm glad to see that because I think Jaguars they are accumulating a good amount of young talent. You got Trevor Lawrence is in his second year. Travis Etienne is healthy. Actually, Christian Kirk, their big wide receiver, a free agency acquisition, actually had a very nice game. But so did Carson Wentz for the Commanders, the much maligned Carson Wentz. Very good game. He and his weapons, they show now. Jahan Dotson, rookie wide receiver, had a touchdown. And I forgot how many yards. He might have had something like 57 yards. And he's actually, I've said this before, he was my favorite wide receiver coming out of this draft. I'm not saying the highest ceiling, but I think he had the highest floor. And they call him again. They call the guy the vacuum for a reason. The guy catches everything. So I think he's quickly going to become not their number one, but quickly solidify his position as their number 2 wide receiver. That's my early season prediction. Maybe just because I'm such a homer for the guy. I love Jahan Dotson, but Washington, good way to start off the season. I'm happy. Well, I'm not too happy. I'm a Giants fan. So, but you did kick off the season on the right foot. Browns defeated the Panthers 26-24. A lot was kind of made up, made on ESPN or wherever else, NFL channel. Baker Mayfield going against his former team. I couldn't really care myself, to be honest. Nothing against Baker, nothing against these teams, but I don't think it was that sexy of a storyline. The Browns did defeat the Panthers 26-24. I think evenly matched teams. My Giants are going to be playing the Panthers next week, as a matter of fact. So Christian McCaffrey was a little quiet, but I wouldn't worry about it. I think he's going to be absolutely fine.
Yeah.
Oh, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, obviously, I think I'm a Baker fan myself, and I think he showed something down the stretch of that. But I think we kind of got to see what the Browns are going to be until Deshaun Watson comes back, and that's pound the rock, run game, Kareem Hunt,
as they should.
Had a couple big touchdowns, and I think we saw with them that Jacoby Brissett, I think he can kind of keep the ball moving, but you're limited in terms of what he's going to be able to do. So they're going to be run game heavy, but they've been that team anyway. They were that Baker. So
yeah, and they don't have even when Watson comes back, he brings back a different dimension. He brings a different dimension, obviously, but they don't really have the receiving weapons. People can talk about Donovan Peoples-Jones all they want. I don't care about Donovan Peoples-Jones. I think he stinks personally. And there are other wide receivers. I'm not a big Njoku or whatever the tight end. People are always talking about that guy. He's got a pretty sizable contract, surprisingly, in my opinion. But I don't think they have the receiving weapons. I mean, Watson will make them all better. He will elevate their game, but their bread and butter is this awesome running game that they have behind a very good offensive line. Nick Chubb, Kareem Hunt, 2 touchdowns. Chubb didn't have any touchdowns, but he put up like 110 yards or maybe more. Great game by them, and that is their bread and butter. And I do think Watson will elevate their receiving game, but still there is very limited talent in that wide receiving core.
Yeah, I mean, I think Amari Cooper is going to be their number one, isn't he? But again,
I forgot about Cooper. That's right.
Sunday, and I think he's going to be very quiet. I think until Watson comes back, and as you said, their bread and butter is going to be that Chubb in the Hunt and that run game, and it should be because it works.
Right. Oh, absolutely. That's what I'd be doing. Just hand that ball off. It works all the time. I forgot about Cooper, and I still do like Amari Cooper a lot, but I'm still very concerned about the rest of the receiving talent there on that court. But you know what? You got those 2 great running backs and Amari Cooper with Deshaun Watson. That will elevate things. And Browns are just they do have a good defense too. So good start to the season for them. Colts tied the Texans, or I should say the Texans tied the Colts because the Texans were supposed to lose this game. Texans picked off where they left off. They picked up where they left off last year, where they were just a nice surprising team where they were being competitive. They only had like 4 wins, but it was probably 4 more than most people expected, and they were competitive. And I do think the Colts are going to have a good season. I think Colts fans out there, like Justin, who's one of our colleagues here at Tulsa Titles, who you meet. He's a big Colts fan. Calm down. I think the team's going to do fine. I think this is just one of those divisional rivalry games. At least the Colts got out of here without a loss. They didn't get the loss. It was a tie, but not a loss.
For sure.
And then just moving along, Giants upset the Titans 21-20. I, of course, was ecstatic about this game, even though I have much respect for the Titans. I love Derrick Henry myself. And I just like that the Titans team, they're well coached, just a physical, tough team. They're kind of like the Ravens without Lamar Jackson, though. Just a team that likes to run the ball, very physical on defense. And I saw that in this game. They were hitting the Giants hard. They were constantly trying to knock the ball out. I loved it. I think that's physical style play. I really like it a lot. Giants had a good win here on the road, good upset win against the Titans. I am concerned about the Titans without AJ Brown. I was kind of like when he was traded, I'm like, the dude is never on the field anyway. He's never on the field. But that offense looked very limited, and I can't chalk that up to a wonderful Giants defense. I wish I could, but that's not the case. Andrew, I know you wanted to talk Saquon Barkley.
Yeah, so
take the reins.
Obviously, a great win for your boys, and I think it's been talked about a lot. But I listen to a lot of New York sports talk radio, and there seems to be a bit of a culture shift within that within that franchise, which I think was needed. But
Yeah.
I think the biggest takeaway from Sunday was the return of Saquon Barkley. This kid's special. We all know it. He's got the talent.
He looked 2018. He really did. He looked completely like he should have been. And me myself, like I don't think it's like we all saw that in 2018. You know something special when you see it. And it's not excuses when you see like, high ankle sprains, when torn ACL. These aren't excuses. Really bad offensive line,
Yeah,
and also bad coaching too. But like, last year it does take like he got back on the field, but listen, not everyone's going to be Dalvin Cook or Adrian Peterson, whoever it was, where you're going to get back on the field after, recovering from the ACL and all of a sudden put up 1,500 yards. 99, like 95% of the time, that's not going to happen. So I wasn't surprised at all by this performance. The second year back from the ACL tear, it's still the offensive line's not very good, but I still think it's actually better, and it's actually better in the run game than people might think. They're actually pretty darn physical in the run game. So I actually wasn't surprised by it, but it was so good to see. It was so good to see.
yeah. I mean, Barkley never looked healthy last year. This year he does. The
Yeah.
biggest takeaway for me, the biggest slight on Barkley, other than his inability to stay healthy, has been that he's kind of a feast or famine type of running back in that
Mm-hmm.
he'll rip off like a 70, 80-yard run and he'll do nothing the rest of the
Yep.
game. He'll get you a couple of yards.
Yep.
Whereas Sunday was different.
Yep.
He had 194 total
He
yards.
got he got the hard yards
Yeah, he got yeah.
like
You know,
between the tackles.
he saw a
Yep.
hole. There was contact after hits.
Yep.
Um, he did have a 68-yard run that he ripped off, but as you said, he got the 2-point conversion as well, and
Mm-hmm.
and those hard yards. And I think we saw with Brian Dable that he's going to rely on the running game. He kind of aired Daniel Jones out a little bit, and I think for you,
Deservedly so.
I
Mm-hmm.
don't think he's the answer.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not
I get it.
convinced.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
This
He's probably not. He's got so many needles to thread. If he
Yeah,
wants to be back next year, his back is really against the rope. But Brian Dable, the culture shift, I love seeing him chew, Daniel Jones out, deservedly so. That was horrible, absolutely horrible. And as a Giants fan, I see like one really head scratching interception like that this season with Jones, where you look at it and it's just there's simply no excuse for that. And I hope that's the only one and that's out of the way. But I do love the culture shift. I do. And you know what? I'm going to move on from there though. Vikings Packers. Uh, I think another statement game here. If I'm a Packers fan, I wouldn't worry too much just yet. But kind of coming in, what I think most of us were worried about with the Packers, who's going to be, a wide receiver one over here. How quickly can they get these guys to, maybe the young guys, to develop Romeo Dubs and Christian Watkins or Watson. Who's going to step up to be who is Aaron Rodgers going to elevate? Who's he going to develop him to be that wide receiver one? We haven't seen it yet. The Vikings took care of business. I think the Vikings are a well-rounded, very serious team that has an offensive mind as a head coach now. I think that's going to make a difference. Now, I know you wanted to talk about Justin Jefferson. I'm going to let you take the reins. I'm going to let you take the reins for like a minute or two. I got to wake my son up. It's like 6:50. I have to get him ready for school. I'm going to step off camera for a second. Go ahead, talk about this game and talk about your man, Justin Jefferson.
yeah. So I was hyped for this game. I've been aboard the Kevin O'Connell hype train. I think you could tell Sunday just the differences that Vikings offense has now with O'Connell. He's really opened it up, and by opening it up, what he's done is he's playing into Kirk Cousins' strengths, which is just to get the ball out, move the ball, keep that offense flowing, and he's also schemed it where Justin Jefferson was wide open time and time again. I mean, if you look at the 2 touchdowns, there's no way a player of that quality should be that wide open. There was a catch he made in the second half, which was just incredible. And for me, it's Jefferson for MVP. I think he's going to elevate his game, and it would not surprise me if he goes and has a Cooper Cup like year. He's that good. He's that talented. And again, week one, you don't want to overhype it, but we've got the sample size of last year. I think we could be talking with Jefferson about being one of the best to ever play the position. Randy Moss like level. And I know some people will come at me for that, but I really do think this kid is special. He showed that Sunday just his ability to catch the ball, and I think we could be talking about one of the best receivers ever if he carries on. I'm all aboard the hype train. And I think just quickly on Aaron Rodgers, again, like I said, week one's a lie. You don't want to, the Packers had a bad loss last year in week one. And we all know that Aaron Rodgers is sat there on the touchline. He's keeping all the receipts of people writing him off. And just like the Terminator and the Undertaker, he's going to rise up and kill us all within a couple of weeks.
Totally true.
In his third straight MVP. But I think for the Vikings, I think they're going to cook under O'Connell. I really like his scheme. I think Kirk Cousins, Kirk Cousins had a monster year last year.
Mm-hmm.
I think it was
He
33
did.
touchdowns, 7
Statistically, he did. I mean, it's funny because I don't remember the numbers, but ever since he got kind of like chewed out by his wide receivers, and when Stephon Diggs and was still on the team his last year, Diggs and Thielen, they went public and they were making their displeasure known about how little they were throwing the ball, and it was just constantly handing off to Dalvin Cook, and that was a few years ago. Ever since that happened, Kirk Cousins has been a lot better, and he's always been an accurate quarterback. But he's always been also that quarterback that is like you can't really count on to win the big games.
Yes,
And
crunch.
those quarterbacks they've been out there before throughout history, where these are good guys, good quarterbacks, accurate, but when it's crunch time, they can't really deliver. And but maybe he can. I mean, I haven't totally given up on him. He is a very good quarterback. He's not elite, but he is a very good, like a top 15 quarterback, absolutely. And I think the difference can be actually if you get the offensive-minded head coach O'Connell, I guess it is. Um, that really could make a difference. So I am expecting to see good things from the Vikings. I think their defense is ready to kind of have a bounce back. They were kind of like a little, thin on talent last year, and I think the year before that. I think they're better stock now, and I do think we are seeing a changing of the guard here. I do think Aaron Rodgers is never write off Aaron Rodgers. Same thing with Tom Brady. There's certain quarterbacks who never, ever, ever write off until you've seen it for an entire season that they're done. And I don't think Aaron Rodgers is done. I think this wide receiving core is going to come along at least somewhat. This isn't. I don't think anyone's going to be Devontae Adams. It's not easy to replace Devontae Adams. However, like you were saying before, Justin Jefferson can wind up being one of the best wide receivers all the time. And it's funny how, and you rarely do see this, but how the Vikings actually improved on a position when they traded Stephon Diggs and then that same offseason drafted Justin Jefferson. Holy cow. They actually elevated, and that's nothing against Diggs, but just Jefferson is as good as Diggs is, and he's really good. They actually got even better.
Yeah, I mean, 9 catches for 184 yards and 2 touchdowns, and he's just explosive, dynamic player. And you're right, it's crunch time Cousins, isn't it? He's got that reputation for not being clutch. I think with O'Connell, I think you can see that the way they're going to use him. So I think if they can make those little tweaks, and I think if Cousins can improve, then maybe that they are a legit threat to the Packers this year.
Yeah. Oh, listen, absolutely, they have to be. They have to be. They're too talented of a team not to be. They really are. And obviously, in the Packers losing Devontae Adams is a huge blow. That's like losing Justin Jefferson. It's a huge blow. And they don't have. And right now, the Packers don't even have like a Thielen, like a seriously legit wide receiver too. In my opinion, like no one proven yet. So that really Packers, the running game is really going to have to, I think, carry things for that team right now until some of those young wide receivers can start, showing up. Okay, Chiefs Cardinals. This is a heck of a game here, man. The Chiefs have They looked fantastic. The Cardinals did not look good. Their wide receiving core is definitely missing weapons. The Cardinals, that is. But the Chiefs look mid-season form. They look phenomenal. They went into Arizona and they took care of business big time. Mahomes, 5 touchdowns. The running game looked good with Clyde Edwards-Helaire and Pacheco, their rookie. I don't remember if he was drafted late or if he was an undrafted free agent rookie. But Pacheco got some really good hard yards. I think he put up something like 65 yards or something like that. But Clyde Edwards-Helaire had put up some yardage in both, but not a monster amount. But he was a factor. He showed up, and he put up yards in the receiving game and on the ground a little bit, I believe. But he had a touchdown. Clyde Edwards-Helaire. The 5 touchdowns, man, nothing to sneeze at. That's a great performance. Their offensive line, they've done a good job of rebuilding that offensive line with an infusion of young talent the past few draft picks. And the defense, they've also been doing the same thing on the defense. They've been adding good young talent to the defense the past few years, the Chiefs. So they look like they're ready to roll. They look like they're in midseason form. Any takeaways on this, Andrew?
Yeah, so I think for me the biggest one you've touched on right there was Mahomes, but coming into the season, I think a lot of the talk was about the Packers and the Chiefs and who Mahomes and Rodgers were going to throw to. And whereas we saw with Rodgers that it's going to be a struggle, I think, and I think they could well end up adding a Odell Beckham Jr. when he's healthy or someone like that.
Mm-hmm.
I think what Mahomes is proved just in week one that this is going to be the Pat Mahomes revenge tour.
Yeah.
Because we didn't really talk about him a lot this offseason. All the
You're right.
Josh Allen or Lamar Jackson or Justin Herbert, and they had their rough stretches last year, but Mahomes was still Mahomes come playoff time, and he was banged up a lot of the time. And I think what we saw Sunday was someone who was like, "Hey, I'm still here. I'm still at the peak of my powers, so I'm not going anywhere." And what they're going to do, and I think this makes them more dangerous, is they're going to do offense by committee because 4 of Mahomes' 5 touchdown passes went to 4 different players, and he completed passes to 9 different receivers.
Yeah, and Kelsey had another big game. He had a monster game. He had something like 140 yards. But like you said, more importantly, he had his monster game. He had his Kelsey type game, like a super Kelsey game. But like you said, Mahomes distributed the ball all over the place. He's not afraid to throw it to anyone.
No, and I mean that's the only difference with the Chiefs and the Packers. The Chiefs have got Kelsey, who's the best tight end in the league, arguably. But they've got with the receivers they've got receivers who can do different things. They've got a couple who can kind of blow the top off and spread the field out. So Mahomes can kind of air it out, and they've got receivers that kind of can get the hard yards, and I think they're going to be really interesting to watch. And as you said, the run game, that hasn't always been a strength of theirs, but that run game looked really, really good. So I think their offense is going to be really, really interesting to watch this year to see how they kind of develop and add another string to their bow.
Yeah, I'm not completely convinced that the running game is going to be like this. Isn't going to be like like Derrick Henry or say like Aaron Jones, in my opinion. But I think it's going to be much more legitimate and much more. It's going to be a running game for the Chiefs that has to be respected more than it has during the Andy Reid. Any other time since they got rid of since they cut Kareem Hunt, it's legit. It's legit enough. They're going to actually have to. Opposing defenses are going to have to. They're going to have to pay attention to it and not just take it for granted that you can put like just a few guys up there and stop the run, because that's how the run game for the Chiefs has been for a long time. I don't think that's going to be the case anymore. I think it's legitimate enough that teams are going to have to take it into account. And you know what? This time last year, especially for like the first half of the season, but the Chiefs got off to a really shaky start. They were winning games. They were losing, from what I recall from last year. They lost some games, maybe that we were kind of a little surprised about, but they also won a bunch of games that it was ugly, but they were winning the games. They were winning them ugly, but they were winning them. This felt like the Chiefs that were normal, that we're used to, like a dominant game. Mahomes just being Mahomes, throwing the ball all over the place. It was fun to see, and they look like again like the Bills, like a mid-season form team.
Yeah, good teams find ways to win. Bad teams find ways to lose, and I think this was, as you said, the Chiefs. mid-season form, and I think they're out to prove a couple points this year, right from the off as well.
Yeah, yeah. So it was cool to see. And Chargers defeated the Raiders. And not surprising here, it was actually a pretty good game. The Chargers never felt like for me, it felt like the Chargers were in control of this game the entire time. But Raiders made it a game. It was 24-19. The game was in the game the game was in Los Angeles. I always want to see San Diego. Um, it wasn't San Diego. They should have gotten this win. This is a very, very tough division. 24-19. I think things could be reversed if this game were played in Vegas. The Chargers did walk out of here with an injury, I believe an injury to Keenan Allen. I'm not sure of the severity. I forgot. I think he's expected to miss some time, but it's not like it's a season-ending injury. If I recall correctly, I think he pulled his hamstring, which when you pull a hamstring, you don't know how long that's going to take. So, but the Chargers did get the win. Anything you wanted to add on this game here at all?
I mean, the difference in this game is just the fact that one team has got a generational quarterback and the other team's got a very good quarterback, but not generational.
Kind of like Kirk Cousins.
Yeah, and I think Carr is what he is, and he's going to be helped by having Adams, and we certainly saw what Adams. He had that one play, I think, in the second half where it was Adams at his best. But for me, the Chargers are must watch now because of Herbert and the way that guy can sling the pigskin. I mean, some of the throws he made.
Awesome.
I mean, the throws he made under pressure and the throws he made in crunch time. The guy's incredible. And for me, we've got a treat this week, Thursday Night Football, Chiefs Chargers. That's going to be one hell of early showdown.
These Thursday night games are awesome. These are great lineups. I'm really looking forward to it. And Herbert is just phenomenal to watch. He's so fun to play. That AFC West is just incredibly stacked with quarterback talent. It's incredible. And then moving on to the the Sunday night game. The Buccaneers took care of business against the Cowboys. Listen, I came into this. The Cowboys were in trouble anyway because they lost their left tackle, Tyron Smith.
Yeah.
That was giving me a problem. It was still enough. This is not the same Cowboys team that we've seen for the past even 15 years. We had a strong offensive line. The running back Zeke doesn't look the same, but then again, the offensive line is not the same. They don't have a true wide receiver number one. In my opinion, CeeDee Lamb, I came into the season, a lot of people were expecting CeeDee Lamb to automatically take over those reins from Amari Cooper as a wide receiver. I was telling people kind of like slow your roll on that. I'm not convinced that he's ready or that he's got the talent to be a wide receiver one. I'm not convinced that he's going to be the wide receiver one. I think he can be, but in my opinion, I'm like, take it easy this year on expectations for this guy. I'm not sure. He had too many drops last year that concerned me, and he's got the talent, but I think he's really more of an ideal wide receiver two at this point. And like I said, he could develop to being that wide receiver one. But now you've got the Dak injury, and listen, I don't think the Buccaneers look great, to be honest. The Cowboys defense showed up, and it looks like as their offense is kind of weakening, the defensive side of the ball is getting stronger. So you're kind of seeing a different Cowboys team here, and I think you're going to have to kind of see it, especially now that Dak is down for I think at least 4 weeks, maybe longer, with the thumb injury he got surgery on. But I've got concerns about the Buccaneers too. Brady, I never count Brady out, but I got to say I'm a little worried that everything's happened with, I believe, with the wife, with his wife, Giselle, in the off season, where I don't think she was too happy about that surprise return to the game. And I get it. Giselle, I get it. The dude's 45 years old, 44 years old. It's time to spend time with the family. But we'll see. They've got, Godwin's injured too. And I've got my concerns about the Buccaneers for this season, I got to say. I think just things don't feel right. They're going to be one of the better teams, but I'd be concerned if I were them as well with this game. Thoughts? Andrew Steele Davis, take it away.
Welcome back, Darkness, my old friends. I feel for you all. Tough old ride, kind of every year. It's the kind of same out of Jerry's world. And I think you're right that there were real concerns heading in anyway, and then losing Dak for some think now it's going to be 4 weeks, which is slightly better. But losing Dak for any period of time, especially in that division, because if Wentz is if Wentz is turned a corner, then that division's going to be competitive, and so I think they're in trouble a little bit. And I think I completely agree with you on the Buccaneers. For me, we were so lucky with the Week 1 slate because the Sunday games were incredible. And for me, this was the worst game of the lot. There wasn't a lot going on, one touchdown. With the Buccaneers, I don't think you can discount the Brady stuff. There's obviously stuff going on there. Giselle did tweet before, but apparently they're kind of living separate now. And he did retire and come back. And, all the reports that this is going to be his last year, I'll believe it when I see it. But I think for me, for the Bucs, when they won the Super Bowl, they didn't really click until after Thanksgiving. And for me, I think what their approach on Sunday to me suggested is this is going to be a slow build. We're going to take the burden off Brady, and we're going to ease him in. If he needs to go off and have a few days off to sort things out, we'll do that. And then come Thanksgiving time, we're going to really hit this. Because are you telling me that if this is Brady's last year, that he's not going to want to go out any other way than winning a ring? So for me, I don't think the Buccaneers are worried about the first half. They've got enough talent to hang in there so that they don't obviously cost themselves a playoff spot. That Mike Evans grab was worth waiting for. It was worth it being the only touchdown of the game. So I think the Bucs will be. I think they are going to be what they're going to be for the first half. That they're going to be tough to watch. Not always pretty, but they're going to get the job done. As we said earlier, good teams find a way to win. Cowboys, I think is going to be rough. I wouldn't be surprised if Jerry's on his way to convince Sean Payton to retirement anytime soon.
I think it's going to be a really rough year for the Cowboys. I think even before the Dak injury, I think the writing was just there with the offensive line. My dog is starting. I have to give him a little food. I'm going to let you take over the reins for a second, but I agree with you. I think Dallas is in a world of trouble, and I wouldn't be surprised. Yeah, I think McCarthy. I think he's probably going to wind up making throughout the year. I think he'll make it through the year, but I agree with you. Sean Payton, I think he'll be here next year. So if you hear moaning, that's my dog Melvin. He's a hound, and when he wants something, he whines, and he's being a pain in the rear end right now. So we're going to get to one of the final segments here. This is a new one proposed by Andrew Steele Davis, and I love it. It is called "Time for a Give That Man His Damn Flowers" segment of the show, and the winner this week is Andrew. Who is it? Talk to us about Geno Smith while I go on camera for a little bit.
Give that man his damn flowers. Yeah, me and Joe, we're excited. We're working on a few new things for the show, and this is one I kind of thought would be a good idea. Look, we've talked a lot about Josh Allen and Justin Jefferson, and those guys are going to get their fair share of the plaudits. But this little section is going to be our opportunity to give praise to those who slip under the radar each week. And this week there's only one winner, Geno Smith. That man, I mean, Monday night, Denver Broncos going into Seattle, all the talk was about Russell Wilson going back to his old team, the place he won the Super Bowl. That's all we heard about. All of the pre-match
and the Seahawks fans booing the man.
Yeah,
I mean, come on, give me a break. Sorry, go ahead.
I mean, yeah, I thought that was a bit of a trash take from the Seahawks, but maybe they saw what we didn't, which was Geno Smith just absolutely balling out. Yeah. That guy was slicing and dicing early. He was
against a true blue defense.
Yeah, that wasn't an easy assignment. It wasn't an easy first game. I mean, he went 23 for 28, 195 yards, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions. He rushed for 14 yards as well. But I think in this case, it's the eye test. I think just the way he kind of moved out of the pocket, kept plays running. He used his feet to extend plays. Some of the throws he made, there was a couple of absolute bullets down the field where he just on a frozen rope. and he just outdueled Russell Wilson. On the night where it was always going to be about Russell Wilson, the Broncos looked terrible, I thought, on both sides of the ball. I didn't think they looked good. There was obviously that play right at the end of the field goal where they wasted 20 seconds only to then kick the field goal. They've got few things to work out, but hey, Geno Smith, is he going to be this good every week? Probably not. But in terms of week one, give that man his damn flowers because my man Geno was out there cooking.
I was really happy for him. He was, I think, a second round pick for the Jets in like I don't remember the year, maybe 2015. And it's funny because he he was on the Giants. He was the quarterback for the Giants who broke Eli's streak of starting every single game, and it wasn't because Eli was injured. It was the end of the 2017 season, and it was a horrible year for the Giants. After having a very good 2016, then head coach Ben McAdoo at the near the end of the year, it was like the third or fourth to like third to last game of the year, wanted to play Geno, who was Eli's backup at the time. I think just to see what he can do because he was still a very young quarterback. He'd only been in the NFL like 2 or 3 years. Wanted to give him a chance to play, and so he sat Eli. Eli wasn't happy about it. The fan base wasn't happy about it because listen, we had nothing to look forward to, but one thing we Giants fans could still hang our hat on was that Eli was an Iron Man. He had this unbroken streak of starts, and I think people just didn't like the fact that hey, if we're gonna sit Eli Manning, who's won two Super Bowls for us, we love the guy. People were shocked that it was Geno Smith, and not another guy named Davis Webb, I should say, who they drafted that year, like in the third round. And so, but me myself, I honestly at that time I was just kind of like, I don't care. I love Eli, but the Eli era is coming to a close. Let's see what these young guys can do. And I don't care. I didn't care if it was Geno Smith or Davis Webb. I was fine with seeing what Geno Smith could do, but he started that game. He did. He started that game. Eli was back in the cockpit the next week, and the head coach and the general manager for the Giants were fired as soon as that season was over, and Geno Smith was gone as well. I always felt bad for him. I'm glad to see he got the start. Glad to see he's still in the league. I always liked the guy. I think a good guy, and he did always have talent. And if he's harnessing it now, it's gonna be kind of like it's a little surprising to see. But it's gonna be a little surprising to see, but he did have a good game, and I like this pick for give that man his damn flowers award. I think it's perfect. Andrew, I absolutely love it. He did have a great game. It was cool to see. Denver fans, I wouldn't be too worried about your team just yet. It was week one, and I do think this is a very well-rounded team, very good defense. You got some good wide receivers there. You got some good running backs who overall, the two of them combined, really interesting. They put up 180 yards combined. Javonte Williams and Melvin Gordon, 180 yards combined in both the air on the ground. They both contributed in both facets of that game, on the ground and receiving. It was pretty interesting. And I do have my concerns about Russell Wilson. Honestly, I had my concerns about him for last year. I remember like a year and a half ago, I started seeing he didn't finish well like a year and a half ago, and I thought last year he didn't look great. But then again, this wasn't a talented Seattle team. However, he hasn't seemed the same to me, and I was just hoping and assuming that him being on Denver, it's going to make things different because I still think he has talent, but he hasn't seemed like the same Russ for a long time, and I think that kind of showed up in this game. To be honest with you, it did, and I still have my concerns there. But then again, it's week one and a new offense, and I do think Denver is going to be one of the better teams this year. And I think they are going to be a playoff team, and I think they are going to, I think they're going to have a pretty darn good year. They just got off on the wrong foot. So the final score of that game was 17-16. I'm sorry, I had the wrong ticker down there pretty much the whole time. And you know what, guys? Now we're going to move into the week two picks. Let me get this out of here. I'll remove this here, and I got to share a screen. I'm going to do the week two picks. This is the last segment of the show. And let me share a screen over here. This always takes me a little time to do this. Entire screen, window, there we go. Share, bam. Okay, so hang on 1 second. I'm gonna add that to the stream. Here we go. Okay, guys. Okay, so my week one results. Last year, I had a really good year with my picks with the spread and straight up, and I got off to a really hot start last year. The exact opposite so far. With the spread, I was awful. I went 5-11. So conversely, if you went against my advice last week with the spread, you actually would have done well. You would have won 11-5. So, but right now, yeah, I'm sorry. I've got sunlight coming through my windows, guys. It's like really hard to see me. This is the best I can do. I'm surrounded by windows. So, what can I say? God is shining on me. But I went 5-11 with the spread. I was 9-6-1 straight up. So I did pretty well there straight up. 9-6-1. And let's see. So let me see if I can enlarge this over here. No, I think it's the biggest I can get it. Okay, um, so picks for my picks week number week number 2, Thursday night game. Chargers at the Chiefs. We're all excited about this game. The spread that I'm going with here, I'm sorry, the point spread I'm going with is from DraftKings Sportsbook, and this is as of last night. So as of Tuesday night, September 13th, these are the DraftKings Sportsbook spread. Chargers at the Chiefs. The Chiefs are giving 4.5 points in this game. I'm taking the Chargers getting the points and the Chiefs straight up. Any picks here for yourself at all, Andrew, or do you just want me to? Should I just go through it myself? It's up to you.
I'll
You want
just
to do
go.
some quick picks?
I'll just go straight up. So I think it's Chiefs for me. I think it's going to be a bit of a offensive showdown. So, but I think Chiefs for me straight up.
Yeah, I wouldn't even be surprised if the Chiefs blow them out. To be honest, in this game, in Kansas City, I just wouldn't be surprised. Kansas City looked so darn good last week. Um, And Herbert looked great, but I wasn't impressed with the rest of the Chargers offense, to be honest with you. But Herbert looked great. But you know what? It's a divisional game. I expect the Chargers to be in it. So I'm going to take the Chargers getting the points. 4.5 is a decent amount, but I'm going to take the Chiefs straight up, who looked like they were in midseason form here. The Jets at the Browns. The Browns are giving 6 points. I'm taking the Jets getting the points in this game, and I wouldn't even be surprised if there's an upset here. The Jets defense looked really good last week. I think the Browns offense is one-dimensional. I'm not a Jacoby Brissett guy. The Jets offense, listen, Joe Flacco. I'm not crazy about him either. I thought the Jets offense actually they didn't put up points, but they actually moved the ball quite a bit last week with Flacco as quarterback. They actually moved the ball, but they didn't put up the points. And the Browns, I'm not crazy about the Browns. I love their running game, but I'm not crazy about their quarterback. I wouldn't be surprised if there's an upset here in Cleveland, the Jets taking the win, but I'm definitely taking the Jets getting the points in this game. But I'll play it safe and I'll take the Browns straight up.
Yeah, Brown straight up for me. I think if this was a Wilson game, I think the Jets could win, but I think they'll shut the run game down a little bit, but not enough. And I don't think they'll get anything from Flacco. So Brown straight up for me.
Okay. And then Commanders at the Lions. This game's in Detroit. Lions are giving 2.5 points. I'm taking the Commanders getting the points and the Commanders straight up. I do think they're going to. I like that they're getting the points. I think Washington's actually a pretty well-rounded team, and I think they're going to go in and I'll pull it. I think they're going to pull. They're going to get the upset.
Detroit for me straight up.
All right, cool beans. I wouldn't be shocked at all if the Lions won, and I'd be really happy for them. Buccaneers at the Saints. The Saints are getting 2.5 points at home. Not a surprise. I do think that the Buccaneers are the better team. However, I am going to take the Saints. I'm going to take the Saints getting the points in New Orleans, and I'm going to take the Saints straight up because the Saints always play the Buccaneers really tough. Even the Tom Brady Buccaneers, the Saints play them really really tough. So I don't know if they're going to get the win, but I'm going to roll the dice on this one in New Orleans. The Saints getting the points at home. I'm going to go with the Saints getting the points and the Saints straight up.
Yeah, I'm the same. Just because, as you said, the Saints just know how to play the Bucs. So Saints for
Some
me.
teams just have another team's number. Panthers at the Giants. Panthers at my Giants. The Giants are laying 2.5 points. It's not often where the Giants are giving points. I'm actually going to take the Panthers getting the points in this game and the Panthers straight up. Christian McCaffrey, I know he had a quiet game last week, but that was against a really good, sound defense in the Cleveland Browns. The Giants defense had a good performance against the Titans, but the Titans offense isn't all that good. Christian McCaffrey scares the living heck out of me. I'm actually going to go with the Panthers getting the upset in this game. I'm gonna take the Panthers getting the points. Don't be mad at me, fellow Giants fans. I'm just trying to be objective here. And you know what? The Giants don't play well, and the Giants haven't played well at home for a really long time. Listen, they've been bad for 10 years, but I know my team, the Giants, have actually played better on the road for a very long time than they have at home. So until the Giants can prove me wrong, I'm not comfortable with them at home. I think the Panthers' defense is actually pretty good. The Panthers' offense played pretty well last week. Christian McCaffrey did not have he had a quiet game, but Baker was finding some of his wide receivers, including I forgot who it was. Robbie Anderson had a really nice game, but I think Christian McCaffrey is going to have a bounce back game against this Giants defense, which is very thin, and the Giants defense should be able to stop the run. I think against many teams, but Christian McCaffrey is a different type of beast. He's like a Alvin Kamara. He is a Saquon Barkley type player. He's hard to get your hands on, and he's hard to bring down. He scares me, so I'm going with the Panthers both ways this game.
Yeah, Panthers straight up for me. I think Baker and Christian McCaffrey need to show something, so Panthers straight up for me.
You're just saying that because you're an angry Jets fan and you hate my Giants. That's all. Just joking. Just joking. Listen, like I said, I'm taking the Panthers both ways in this game too. So, but hey, man, if the Giants can get off to 2-0 start, oh my God, fireworks are gonna be going off in my house. Patriots at the Steelers. The Steelers. So I was surprised by this line, and I think it might have been a mistake by DraftKings. The Patriots are at the Steelers. The Patriots did not look impressive at all last week. Um, they're at the Steelers. I know the Steelers lost T.J. Watt probably for the season with a torn muscle, torn pec, something like that. The Steelers were getting a point. I didn't get that at all. I think almost feel like there was a mistake there. I'm taking the Steelers getting the point. I'll tell you, I would have taken the Steelers even if they were giving a point. I'm taking the Steelers in Pittsburgh getting the point and the Steelers straight up. How about you?
Yeah, who knows who's calling the plays for the Patriots? That it looked messy, and I don't think that's going to get resolved anytime soon. So even without TJ Watt, I think that Steelers defense is going to absolutely manhandle Matt Jones.
Yeah, even without Watt, I mean the Patriots they don't have any weapons. It really scares me. And I do like the running back committee and Damian Harris and Ramondre Stevenson, but I don't think it's gonna be enough. Not against the Steelers defense. So yeah. So I'm gonna take the Steelers. Even if the Steelers were giving the point, like I said, I'd still be taking the Steelers. Colts at the Jaguars. The Colts at the Jaguars, and so this is again another divisional game here. The Jaguars are giving 4 points at home. I think the Colts are much better than what we saw last week. I'm not expecting them to have too hard of a game 2 weeks in a row against subpar competition. I think the Colts are going to come back here and make a statement. So I'm taking the Colts and giving the points, and the Colts straight up.
Yeah, this screams the Jonathan Taylor monster game for me. So Colts straight up.
Yep. I think the Colts are going to have a nice bounce back game here. Dolphins at the Ravens. The Ravens are giving 3.5 points. Ravens suffered an injury to their season-ending injury to their starting left tackle. They just lost Kyle Fuller. I always expected the Ravens to play tough, but man, those key injuries are racking up early. I was encouraged by their passing game last week with Duvernay having a nice game, Bateman having a nice game as well. The Dolphins' defense is pretty tough. I'll never ever like the Steelers. I will never count the Ravens out. Never. They're too well coached of a team. They're always too proven of a team. They tend to be talent laden. I'll never count the Ravens out. But in this game, I'm going to go with the Dolphins, even though it's in Baltimore. The Ravens are giving 3.5. Since the Ravens are giving 3.5 points, I'm definitely taking the Dolphins getting the points, and I'll take the Dolphins straight up in this game. But I wouldn't be shocked if the Ravens win. But I will go Dolphins straight up.
Yeah, I'm all in on Mike McDaniels and Tua this year, but I think Baltimore's a tough place to go. And I'm going to take the Ravens straight out because I think Lamar's going to do just enough to get them the win.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised at all. It was hard. I was right on the. I was me myself. I'm like, I'm going to take the Dolphins. Getting the 3.5 points. I think it'll be a good game. But yeah, it was like, it is tough to play in Baltimore, but I think the Dolphins are ready to turn that corner where they can go into Baltimore a little beat up with those key injuries and that they can take care of business. Okay, so I got to get my son to school real soon, so I'm going to go through the rest of these games real quick. Falcons at the Rams. The Rams are giving 10.5 points. 10.5 points. I'm taking the Falcons getting the points and the Rams straight up. What do you say?
Yeah, Rams straight up for me. They need a
Okay.
back.
Yeah, they better come back or they're in trouble. Seahawks at 49ers. The 49ers are laying 10 points. The 49ers look shaky, but I'm going to go with the 49ers. It's 10 points. That's a lot of points, especially for a divisional game. That's a lot of points. But I'm going to go with the 49ers giving the points and the 49ers straight up. What say you?
Yeah, that seems a big line, but I think I'm with you. I think the 49ers straight up. Again, Trey Lance needs a show me game.
Yeah, man, that's a lot of points though. Bengals at the Cowboys. The Cowboys are getting 8 points at home. We know their injuries. Dak's not going to be is not going to be playing, missing their starting left tackle as well. Bengals at the Cowboys. I'm going to take the Cowboys getting the points. It's a lot of points at home. They're not going to have their quarterback. I didn't like how the offense looked last week, even with Dak in there. I didn't like it at all. It didn't look good. But I don't know. Their defense looked really good, the Cowboys. And I'm going to go with so I'm going to go with the Cowboys getting the 8 points at home. That's a lot. Yeah, but I'll take the Bengals straight up.
Yeah, Cowboys are beat up. I think Joe Burrow will be protected a little bit more. I think the Bengals will win straight up.
Okay. And then Texans and the Broncos. The Broncos are laying 10 points. I'm going to take the Broncos giving the points, even though it's 10. I'll take them giving the points in Denver and the Broncos straight up.
Yeah, Russell Wilson's first home game. I think this is a Russell Wilson monster game.
Yeah.
Broncos.
Yep, I'm with you. Cardinals at the Raiders. The Raiders are giving 6 points. I'm taking the Raiders giving the points and the Raiders straight up.
Yeah, I'm Raiders straight up too.
Yep, I'm concerned about the Cardinals. Bears at the Packers. Okay, so the Packers are laying 10 points. I'm going to take this game's in Green Bay. It's divisional, 10-point spread. Divisional game scares me. I don't care what the matchup is, but I got to take the Packers giving the points. I think they're going to wind up having a really big bounce back game no matter what in Green Bay. So I'm going to take the Packers giving the points and the Packers straight up.
Aaron Rodgers still owns the Bears, so that's my answer right there.
Yeah, and that answer is definitely good enough for me. Just two more games here. Titans at the Bills. Man, I'll tell you, a week ago I felt this is a game I would have felt really excited to see. I don't know about this after the Titans' performance against the Giants and the Bills' performance against the Rams. I'm not so sure. So surprisingly, I am surprised by the spread though. Titans at the Bills. Bills are giving 10 points. You know what? After the way the Titans looked against the Giants, I'm going to go with the Bills giving the points and the Bills straight up. And the Bills straight up definitely, but even giving 10 points, I'm going to go with the Bills.
Yeah, Bills home opener. Josh Allen's cooking already, so for me that's Bills straight up, and I don't think it's close.
Yeah, man, oof, I agree with you. In the last game, Vikings at the Eagles. Eagles are giving 2.5 points. This is going to be a really good Monday night game. This is going to be a really good Monday night game. Vikings getting the point. I'm taking the Vikings getting the 2.5 points in Philadelphia, but I'll take the Eagles straight up. I'm taking it both ways, but it's I think it's going to be a really close game. So I'll take the Vikings getting the points and the Eagles straight up.
I'm all aboard that Justin Jefferson train, so Vikings straight up for me.
Justin Jefferson versus AJ Brown, man, it's going to be interesting to see. This is going to be a really good game. But guys, that is it. Everyone, that is it. And I gotta. Let's see. Let me remove this right here. Everyone, I got to call it quits. I got to get my son to school right now. We went through pretty much everything. Here are most of the Twitter handles for my compadres here at Toss the Titles. I still have to add Andrew Steele Davis's, and I have to add like 5 other names. We actually have like 17 people, 18 people here at Toss the Titles now. Andrew Steele Davis, I am going to add your name here. I think some of these people actually have even left. So I have to clean up this list of Twitter profiles here for all my Toilets and Titles teammates. And please, friendly reminder, don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe, hit that bell, give us a 5-star Apple review. Andrew, it's been real, my friend. It's been a great first time working with you. I'm going to see you next Wednesday. Any parting words at all?
No, just absolutely pumped to be part of the team. It's a great first show. I thought, we've obviously
Awesome.
teased a couple new things we're going to bring. So keep watching this space because we're going to bring that energy and see where we can go with this. So
Yeah,
no, thank you very much.
absolutely. And I lied. I'm sorry. It really was giving me 40, like a hard 45 minutes. But I was able to just walk away for a little bit, make sure my son got in the shower, make sure he had something to eat. Now I got to take him to school, but we were able to extend it to an hour and 20 minutes. So anyway, it's been great talking football. Andrew, thank you so much. I'll see you next week, buddy.
Thank you.
Everyone else, I'll catch you later. Have a great Wednesday, all. Take care.